Welcome everyone to a Toku Pearl podcast. It's me Zero here with again no one, but whatever, that's fine. We actually have somebody looking at this. That's cool. Yeah, sorry for the late start. I was seeing if anybody was gonna pop in, but yeah, it doesn't look like that's happening. Whatever. So I'll just solo this. Yeah, anyway, is my audio coming okay? Yeah, it's coming fine. So anyway, yeah, welcome back to Saber, episode 7. Not really much to say about this episode, so I'm probably gonna make this pretty quick. There's basically only two plot lines for the most part. One is Blades trying to get stronger to fight back against the general, what's his name, Zuos, who killed his master. Yeah, and so Blade basically goes, I guess, to the hyperbolic time chamber or whatever to train. Yeah, and then he gets, well, I mean, what he's doing is he's trying to master using all 3 of the wonder books that his master used. So he's just trying to be able to be at least on his level, which takes him a while, but he eventually masters it. We also get like a little flashback seeing like young Blades and his master. And you see that his master is pretty strict, but that kind of explains why Blades is so, like uptight and proper, sort of. Anyway, so yeah, he ends up mastering it overall, and he beats Zuos. I'll come back to this point in a bit. And then the other plot line is like Saber and Espada basically go to Avalon, or find a way to get to Avalon to get, I guess, like the magic sword or whatever. And Caliber also wants to get it, so he's basically setting a trap, or it's more like he's letting them open the door and then he'll follow, which is what he does. And then they kind of have a fight in Avalon and sort of a standoff there. But yeah, basically it's them just continuing to do research on like how to get to Avalon. Then you figure out that like you need all the wonder books to get there, and then you have to do this like weird sword kata thing where it's like which is the key to opening it. So they get there. Spada does well enough against Caliber, but then Saber like sort of uses his belt, which activates Caliber's belt, which releases the dragon, which I think where it leaves off. But basically the point is like, yeah, that story is continuing, but it hasn't resolved yet. Anyway, so that's pretty much what happens this episode. Is it great? No. Is it bad? No. Is it worth watching? I don't know. It's like a really questionable question at this point. Like, honestly, the show, there's like generic Kamen Rider and baseline Kamen Rider. This is like bare bones Kamen Rider, right? Like, this is the problem I was talking about, where it's like the bare minimum you have to do for a Kamen Rider show, where it's like, oh, this is a fight. Oh shit, we got beaten by the monster. Oh, gotta train in the second episode of the 2-parter to come back and beat the monster. Except you beat one of the generals, right? And then like Green beat one of the generals before, and then like Espada is almost on Caliber's level, or at least like if one of the other riders joins in, then he is. So it's like, what the hell is going on, right? Like, this is escalating real fast, and it's like, the problem isn't that they're bad, because they're like actually pretty competent villains. But like, okay, let's put it this way: Zio's not a good show, but it's more fun to watch than this, because it fucking takes its time. Like, either this show has something it's got planned in like the next coming arcs, so it's just trying to get through the first arc, so it's rushing, or they're just rushing for no fucking reason, and then we're gonna get into the later arcs and they're gonna run out of ideas and it's gonna drag. I'm like, I hope it's the first one, because goddamn, I like, this isn't even like, oh, I can just sit here and just hang out with the characters and shit. It's like, no, there's like no character. Like, nobody does anything unless it's like plot important, right? It's like literally like, oh, you lost this thing, oh, go train, get stronger. Oh, you're the comedic character, okay, have a banter. Oh, you're the cocky kid, okay, be cocky. You know, and then it's like, oh, now time to get serious. Okay, put on, switch into rider mode, go be a hero, and then come back, and then you pretty much disappear off screen, right? Until we need you for like a one scene. Like, nobody has I mean, they have personality, but their personality is like so one. Ugh, how should I describe? Like, this is like, okay, in like screenwriting, there's this thing called placeholder dialogue. Nobody likes it. We all fucking hate it, but we all put it in there anyway. It's basically like scene. What happens in scene? Character walks in, character 2 walks in. Hey, I want this to happen in this scene. Oh, I'm trying to trick you. Oh, I did this thing. Oh, I get what I want. Next scene. Right? It's like, I mean, it's a little more involved than that, but it's basically like, say exactly what the fuck you're gonna do and write it out. Right? There's no finesse. There's no like importance, there's no real characterization, it's just pure plot, right? And you write it down, that's just like the base structure and the backbone of the script of like, oh, at least you know what the fuck is going on, right? Like in a movie or an arc or whatever. And then you come in and you put in details and add like flavor text and like all this characterization, which makes it interesting, right? The problem is this show feels like it's basically like slightly, very slightly better than that, than just like placeholder text, right? Like, the fights are just okay, the powers are there, you know, their personalities just come out just enough, right? But it's like, god, there's like nothing to this show. Like, Zio's a fucking train wreck, but at least when the villains win or they're in like about to win, they get to relish in it. You get to like actually be like, holy shit, what if they actually win? Here it's like, it's nothing. It's like, oh, they won, whatever, man, next episode you're gonna get your ass kicked, right? Like, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like imagine if Blades didn't lose, right? Or if he didn't have that little mini breakdown. What the fuck was the characterization for any of the other characters in the show, right? They're literally just like generic grunts. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's more realistic, because life is like, oh, you show up, you do your job, you go home, come back, do it again. It's like, yeah, but that's not a fucking show, right? For drama, that's bad. You don't write characters like that, right? In a drama, you're supposed to show the most important thing at the most interesting time, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Like, nobody gets to have a moment and just like sit in it. Right? Like Blade should have taken a couple episodes. Like, he should have went against the villains, lost, and then either have his rematch later or have like the villain and he's like, okay, I can take you down, and then lose super hard again. And then try again, right? Like something like that. But it's got this like very Sentai thing where it's like, alright, we're just gonna do this 2-parter, it's done. Next thing. It's like, oh man, this is why I don't like Sentai. Because it's so formulaic, or like bad Sentai is anyway. But like, even Sentai has way more personality than this shit, honestly. And I know I'm like fucking ragging on this show super hard, but like I'll watch it, but like, there's nothing to latch on to right now, right? Like, who do I hate? I don't hate anybody on this show, right? Like, they don't have enough of a personality for me to hate them. Right? They're like, the villains are competent. Okay, cool. Right? I don't hate them. Right? The villains or heroes, who do I like? I don't like anyone. Right? Like, they don't have enough characterization for me to give a shit. Right? Like, I don't... Here's the thing. Blades is my... Like, if I had to rank them, Blades would be number 1. And that's because, like, okay, he's hardworking, he's super nice, right? He tries to do the heroic thing all the time, right? Three things. Like, how do you hate that, right? So it's like he's winning by default. It's not that I really like that character. It's just like, well, what else are you gonna do? I mean, it's like that's the problem with the show. It's like either they're like really rushing because they have like real meaty shit planned out in the next arcs, or there's nothing. And it's just gonna be generic as hell. And I'm like, it's not even worth it. Like I'm looking at the timer right now. It's like 10 minutes. I'm like, shit. Can I like just keep bitching about the show? It's like I don't even want to put in the energy for that. Right? I don't know. Maybe this whole like sword of King Arthur thing or whatever is buried in Avalon will really shake things up. But I don't know. At this point, it's just hey, we're going on a quest. Oh, there's a villain. Oh, we have to fight them. Oh, next thing. It's like, it's just so by the numbers. It's really annoying. Yeah, honestly, like, this is another okay episode. Like, okay, if you're studying how to write Kamen Rider, watch this episode. This is not how to write good Kamen Rider. This is not even how to write decent Kamen Rider. This is like, you have to meet this bar. Can you do that? Right? Like, this is the, study how to write 2 plot lines going at once. This is the episode you study. Right? It's like, okay, it's bare minimum. You have to be able to replicate this to make a writer show. But this is bare minimum. This is like, if you turn this in, you'd get a 50 and pass. Right? Like, just squeaking in. And then beyond this, you have to add your own stuff. Your own, like, personality, characterization. You have to let the moment breathe. You have to have good action, good music, like all this other shit which elevates it to 100, right? Which this show doesn't have. Anyway, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like one good thing. Okay, like Toma, I guess, finished the manuscript, which is cool. May continues to be in character, whereas like, did you finish the thing? Great, now I get to hang out with my friends. And then she sees that, like, she remembers that, like, Blades needs help, so she tries to go out and help Blades, but then she gets kidnapped, sort of thing. I mean, we're getting one of the other generals finally coming into play, so maybe he'll do something. Lagiel? Yeah, Lagiel. So we'll see what his deal is. Maybe it'll be interesting. I mean, like, he quartered off like 3 areas of the map, one of his abilities, and it's got like the Medusa thing going on, so we'll see what happens there. But again, that's another setup, right? And then as for Zuos, the problem is like Blades pretty much like matches Zuos now, and like Diest or whatever, like, he got his ass kicked already. So it's like we've escalated to meet the challenge so quickly. Like, it's episode 7 and we're pretty much rivaling the villains. It's like, what the hell is going on? I don't know. This show is weird. Like, it's like a generic Sentai trying to be writer, trying to be like bare minimum writer, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's not even a bad show, it's just bland. It's like bare minimum. Like at least you could bitch about Zio. Like, I can't even do that about this. Like, I'm worried. I'm trying to reach like 15 minutes here, for God's sakes. Right? Like, holy shit, this is under like, I could end this now and be like under the 15-minute limit, which is like the limit that old YouTube videos used to be restricted to. Well, I mean, like the second generation, the first generation who used to be 10 minutes. But anyway, that's like old YouTube history stuff. But yeah, like, I guess I'll continue watching it, but like, nobody seems to really give a shit too much about this show. Or at least maybe the people who don't want to show up and talk about it. I mean, they're probably busy. It's not that they're avoiding the show. I'm guessing that's what's happening. But I don't know. I can't really say too much. Like, I'm not really feeling this show, but I'll keep watching it. At least I'll try to keep the podcast short so I don't bitch for too long. Yeah, that's all I got. That's my promise, I guess. I'll try to keep it short if I'm bitching too much. 15 minutes and I'm done. Anyway, thanks for joining me, everyone. Yeah, like, it's another setup episode. Like, what can I do? Like, yeah, Blades kind of has his moment, but, like, it seems a little too easy. I mean, that's not true. Like, he had struggles, but they were off screen, so it's like I can't even do anything there, right? And like his suit looks pretty much identical. I mean, like there's a small difference using all three, but like it's not such a major thing like older shows where you can talk about like, oh shit, like here's a new suit. It's like it, yeah, for production wise, like it's easier to just bolt stuff on. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but it's like I can't really even talk about the suit. Right? There's like not much to go on. Yeah, anyway, this is another podcast done. Thanks everyone for joining me. Next Tuesday for the next Sentai episode, and Wednesday for Saber. Maybe somebody will show up. Who knows? Anyway, thanks everyone for joining me. Talk to you later.